Flow Riders, and welcome to another edition of The Flow. I am your community manager, Doc Rock from Ecamm, along with my awesome co-host.
Hey everyone, it's Katie.
That's the best part. That's the best part of the show right there. Hey everyone, it's Katie.
Oh, too funny.
Okay, so what are we talking about today, Kates?
We're talking about excuses. I was doing my usual research for our episodes, as I am often, as I want to do. And I've been taking some of your advice, Doc, you'll be proud of me. And I've been hanging out with Chad and throwing some asking Chad to come up with common podcasting questions and thinking through topics that would be really helpful for all of the Flow Riders. And Chad, in one of their answers, gave an answer that included what I know to be a common excuse. And I was like, oh boy, we should talk excuses today. So today we're going to list off 5 common excuses that podcasters and people who are new or want to be podcasters will make that gets in the way of just creating your podcast. And we're going to talk you through how we would approach overcoming these so that there are no more excuses as we end out this year and head into next year.
Oh, I like this. All right, so I guess we should dive straight into what is the first excuse.
You're going to love this one, Doc. The first excuse is, I don't have the right equipment. I don't have the things I need to make a podcast. Oh. Grab your credit card. Doc's got some recommendations for you.
Okay. All right, so man, I really like this. So here's the hard part. Here's the hard part about this. While it is important that if you can, you don't skimp on equipment because you will definitely buy it all over again. Not starting because you don't have the right equipment is crazy. Now, I think this is really, really dope because I just did a live stream about this 2 weeks ago. And I recently just uploaded a short about this onto my IG. And it's because I've been thinking a lot about the people who are sitting around waiting for everything to be perfect and put back in a situation. And I got my studio exactly right and I'm doing this or doing that. Really, at the time, I was having a long conversation with our buddy Bicky, who has a different situation because he's caring for a parent. I know what that feels like. I did it for a while. It's definitely rough on the brain cells. But I was like, bro, if you could just find a way to do that and still just make videos of you building it from jump, those videos or those audios or whatever about you building it from that very first nail will probably be more valuable to people than your whole podcast once you're done. Because everybody wants to know how to do that. Everybody wants to know how to start from drywall and get to this amazing looking studio. And now he's kind of already there. Like his studio is starting to look really, really good. And it's still not too late. You still could dive in and explain your process and how you put in, the Cat 6 in the wall because you knew you were going to need it, right? And not just a cable to your desk, but a cable to everywhere because you might decide to move. These kind of things, right? These decisions. So if you wait until the end, by the time you put it out there, because I got everything perfect and it's exactly ready to go, and you make your maiden voyage and no one shows up, it's disheartening. It breaks you. That's why so many podcasts have like 1 to 10 episodes and they're done, is because they wanted it to be perfect. They got everything coming out of the gate and nobody comes and they're like, what was it all for? And
I've just spent all this money. So, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. I spent all this money. So it's better that you pop up your phone and hide in the bathroom and start there. It's better that you take your phone in your camo and hide in the bathroom with a backdrop there than to go and like rent out a studio and put out all of your best and nobody shows. It's better to build in public. It just is. And people will appreciate you more. And I don't know, man, there's something dope about the guys that we watched start from nothing and now they're crushing it. And like we were there when they were goofing off.
Yeah.
With just iPhone mics, or the people that do this for their first couple episodes.
Yeah.
Holding the head. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I like that. What do you think?
You could be successful with like the most limited amount of equipment, because really in the end it comes down to understanding your audience and knowing what your content is and like how you're going to wow that audience or teach that audience that you're out there to create for. So I think I don't know. I'm constantly switching my equipment around. I probably drive Doc crazy for it. Like, as he said today, I'm using my phone with camo on it. I've been playing recently with continuity camera because people were asking about that in the community. And I was like, hey, I'll just see what that's like. I switch my lights around all the time. I'm constantly moving things around. And you know what? Like, I'm still just creating as often as I can create.
I definitely, Bicky's here. Hey, buddy.
Yay, hey,
That's super funny. Bicky said, I need more gear. No, you don't. Stop it. One thing that I must say, and this is both painful, but then also positive. Continuity camera is not ready for prime time. It's a cute idea, Apple. It's not all the way ready. If you're just talking to your friends and family, fine. But for doing this, it's not really baked. It's too unreliable.
Yeah.
Stick to camo. Talk to Eden. They probably got some Black Friday thing popping off pretty soon. She's in the chat. If you're not on the live stream, you missed this discount code. Not my problem. You should have been here. But I'm joking. Camo or shoot, to be fair to Michael. And, even the one that I don't like, which is Epoch camera, whatever, like they're all better than continuity camera at this moment. And they're not expensive. That one won't break the bank. Camo's my favorite, probably because Eden's my ice cream buddy. And she makes me laugh on. I'm so glad you guys can't hear our daily conversations of just laughing about dumb stuff and dog videos.
I do love, and I want to call this one out. So Marcus is hanging out in our live studio audience, which you can always join us every single Tuesday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We're here on YouTube recording this live. We're putting ourselves out in front of people. But Marcus says, I don't need more gear. I want more gear. And that's a really super important thing for people to keep in mind. If you're new to this whole space, if you're new to podcasting, you're new to video podcasting, this whole world, what you are immediately going to find is that it's really fun to buy gear. And when people buy cool gear or set up a really cool studio space, they want to show it off. We are content creators. We're creating content. We're constantly talking about our spaces and what we're doing and the behind the scenes of things. So don't let other people's excitement and desire to level up and just overall enthusiasm for the gear and for their studio spaces convince you that you're not doing enough or that you don't have the right gear or that you're, don't let what they're doing, which is coming from an excited, fun, like professional space, don't let that convince you not to get started or not to create a podcast. Everyone starts somewhere. Everyone has a different use case as well. So what works really well for you may work like not as well for someone else. Like what Doc has in his studio is never what I'm going to have in my home studio space for what I'm creating on a regular basis, right? We have completely different goals. We have different audiences. We're working in different ways and spaces. Doesn't mean that I don't feel professional and that I've made the decisions that are best for me and for what I'm trying to do and for my audience. So keep that in mind. I think Marcus just nailed it with that comment where many people, when it comes to buying gear, it's cool and fun to buy. Doesn't mean that, that it's all of the necessary things. It's, some necessary things and then some things that are there because they want to have them or that it's, it's fun to build out that studio space.
100%. And it's funny. I will put this, it has to do with a value proposition too. I definitely have friends of mine who would never go out and buy a $300 microphone, but I know for a fact they have some $2,000 Adidas, Y3 custom Adidas, right? Or, they have every month they got a brand new pair of J's, which at this point is $500. If you're unfamiliar with J's, this conversation is not for you. I'm just saying your value proposition is what does it really mean to you and why? And if you're trying to do this, it's an investment. And so, again, you don't have to go crazy, but you should definitely start somewhere and then go from there. The other thing is you can't necessarily listen to somebody else telling you what their budget problems are. Their budget problems aren't yours.
Yep.
So don't listen to, if you have the money and somebody tells you, oh, you don't need it, still buy the right thing because you're going to buy it again, which is more of a waste of money. So you don't have to go cheap, but if you have to, go cheap. It's so simple. You really have to make these decisions for yourself. Now, not to beat this in a dead horse, Marcus had a very funny comment, which is actually a good comment, is I'm tired one of the excuses. Mm-hmm. No. And I'll be very mean about this. No. Because if your purpose is figured out, you're not tired about doing anything that is a portion of your purpose.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. If what you're doing is making you tired, you don't love it as much as you think
it's
you
not
do.
the right thing for you.
And we are not going to like it any more than you do. You know, it's funny. I was doing something the other day, and I was teaching people how to do custom instructions in ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. And one of the criteria for setting up your profile so that Chat gives you what you want is specify to Chad, what is the one thing that you could talk about basically ad nauseum and never get sick of talking with your friends about it? Mm-hmm. So for me, it is Manchester United. For me, it is my Adidas collection because you guys seen me. You have never not seen me with a piece of Adidas strip on ever in your life. And everyone who's seen me in public. Like I'm right now, I got 3. I'm just saying. So yeah, like, you know, if it comes to cars, like I love my BMW and I know what people think about us, but I just love them, right? Now that I'm on my truck only, it's driving me crazy because I miss my Beamer. So yeah, if put those things in, and I could do a whole, like, you know, Beamer, Benz, or Bentley podcast and talk about that for hours on end, maybe more so than this gear stuff. I just don't talk about it to you guys because y'all ain't about that life. And Matt just said woodworking. You know me. I could do that all day long. Mm-hmm. You know, I go hang out with Dane in the garage and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about wood stuff, you know? So yeah, just figure that out and boom.
All right. All right. Let's move into number 2. Luis, roll our number 2. I don't have a unique idea. I love this one because it also goes into like beyond just I don't have a unique idea, but like what's the right idea? Like I don't know what the right idea is, which is actually what you were just talking about, Doc, where it's, you know, if you don't have a unique idea or know what your podcast should be about or how to come up with topic ideas, then you don't want it bad enough because there's so many different ways to approach that. So if this is your excuse or one of your excuses or a variety of your excuse, then I would challenge you to spend a little bit of time really thinking through what made you want to do a podcast in the first place, because it sounds like you're not quite there yet. My 2 cents anyway. How about you, Doc?
That is... Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, that was a rough one. Okay, listen. You don't have to have a unique idea.
Oh, very good perspective. Yeah. Yeah, the word unique in there. It's true. It doesn't have to be only your idea.
No, because, like, how do we... Okay, so we know, you and I are film people. We like films.
Yep.
We know that there's basically 7 to 10-ish different plot lines. That's it. Right? Man versus man, fish out of water. Mm-hmm. Especially the teenage comms that we all love so much from the 90s. Mm-hmm. Fish out of water.
Yeah.
Right? You know, hero overcoming strange odds or weird odds or whatever. There's only the basics. But everything out there, all these movies, all these stories, they've all been done. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, like at this point in time, you don't have to have a unique idea. You have to have your perspective. Really
good point. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And then so that's it. That's the best way to put it.
All right. Well, if that's your excuse, there's your answer. This next one coming.
It's hard to cover that one because so many people do that to themselves, but it's definitely not a true thing. Like somebody could start a Patriots podcast tomorrow. There's probably 200 of them.
Yeah.
But somebody in your neighborhood could start a Patriots podcast tomorrow and they might have a unique spin and it might be better. Do you I didn't watch the movie yet, but it comes up on the airplane all the time on both Hawaiian and JetBlue. And it's on my Amazon feed, like always popping to the top. But there's a movie recently called 80 for Brady. Have no idea what that's about. Yeah. But could you imagine basically 4 old ladies in, your neck of the woods, dropping and doing the podcast like your boys from Balls Out, If These Balls Could Talk. Which one is right?
If These Balls Could Talk. Yeah.
If they did somebody did an 80 for Brady like podcast, a bunch of old ladies talking about Tom with the accents and everything. Yo, I'm watching that and I can't stand that team. Don't tell your people in your neighborhood that. Oh my God. But I'd be all over that because it'd just be freaking hilarious. It would be absolutely hilarious. So yeah, that one is hard, but there's no such thing. No matter what you think is overdone, it's never overdone because even, cell phones were overdone and everybody told Steve, don't bother. And yet half of you guys, maybe more, have iPhone in your pockets.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good perspective. I hadn't thought about it. You should absolutely, as Doc was saying, find your passion, write down like all of the different things that make you seriously happy that you could talk about for forever. And then, put your unique spin on it. I mean, I am definitely guilty of this, right? There's like a million different movie review podcasts, TikTok channels, Instagram accounts, articles online about every conceivable part of movies. So what I am doing for my personal podcast is not even kind of close to unique. But it's something that I'm passionate about, I have a lot of fun with, and we've put our own personal spin on it because no one is me. So I think it, comes down to what your goals are, who your audience is that you're trying to reach, and how passionate are you about it. And remember what makes you you. I like it.
All right, let's go.
All right, number 3. I'm not good at public speaking. I don't like to be on camera. I want to have a podcast, but I'm scared.
I'll be nice as possible here. That excuse is really not yours. That excuse is something you heard from somebody else and you owned it or adopted it, and now you believe it. So you have to be really, really careful of your belief system. And to my students, I remind them that in the middle of the word belief is lie. A large portion of what you believe is a lie. Because it is really funny how people hate public speaking. And then they have a couple minutes with Patrick and Ronald, Pat and Ron, or Patron. And all of a sudden, you can't get them to shut up. Mm-hmm. So if you guys don't know Patron, it comes in a little bottle, has the word tequila on the outside.
Tequila. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
It's super funny, like buttery Chardonnay deep. All of a sudden, people that don't like to be on camera can just go for it, So none of this is true. These are the lies you tell yourself. It is really hard. But you know what? There's no way to get better at public speaking without public speaking. It is impossible. You can't get better at driving by reading about it. You have to actually do it. Yep. So you can have that excuse forever and just hide in your house, or you can just rip the Band-Aid, jump in the water, and then just get better. And I have the easiest secret to get better, and I've been telling people this a lot lately. Just video journal to yourself in your phone the way they do on TLC. Oh my God. I hope Katie and Dane aren't messing up my kitchen. I really like my kitchen the way it is, blah, blah, blah. And they have some really, you do that whole thing, and then when you do the reveal, you're like, hey now, all right, I understand now. I like my pots overhead. I didn't think I would like my pots overhead. Half the time, you don't know what you don't like until you try again. And I guess the last one, these are the things that we're taught when we're kids, or some teacher made you feel bad about yourself. And I just remember going from childhood all the way up to mid-30s, still believing that I hated Brussels sprouts. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I'm reading Hank Russell's name in the same time I'm trying to say Brussels sprouts, and it got stuck. Sorry, Hank. It's just my brain Hank Russell sprouts. And then one day my friend was like, listen, man, $20, just eat it. I guarantee you it's going to change your mind. And so we got the shots and the money on the table. I ate a roasted Brussels sprouts with the yuzu zest and bacon. Mm-hmm. And I was like, Mary, sweet mother of Jesus, what in the hang is this? And they're like, yeah, turns out My grandfather was a truck driver for Jolly Green Giant. So if you were a kid in the 80s, my grandfather probably bought you some nasty frozen vegetables.
Yeah. And
so
boiled
because we got those
Brussels sprouts, not the same as roasted Brussels sprouts.
That's it. And everybody from the hood knows for $1 in a brick about this big, they just take them out the frozen brick into the hot water, boil it, slap it on your face with a chunk of butter. There you go. And that does not a Brussels sprout make. So that is why I, so again, you revisit something that you were told when you were a child, it might not be the same now. You are different. Yeah. You're more different today than you were at camp 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Put yourself in a safe space too. I'll say so what helped me with this, because I definitely felt this and still have moments of feeling this every now and then. But what really made it easier for me was being with someone else. So when I'm by myself and live streaming or recording video or on a stage or whatever it is, I get really nervous and I have to actively calm myself down and turn the negative energy into positive energy. But when I'm on a video call or a podcast or a show with Doc or with my friend Nat or a guest on someone else's show that I've talked with a few times or I know or as a friend, then it feels safer and friendlier. What also helped me a lot was just having friends and community members in the chat being like, hey, it's Katie, or we're so excited Katie's here, or adding kind of some of that positivity to remind you that none of this is life and death. All of this is just, you're doing it to help people. You're doing it because you thought it was fun. You're doing it because you're talking about something you're passionate about. So I think putting yourself in a safe space or allowing kind of those friendly faces or friendly comments into that space with you is going to help you feel more comfortable as well and keep you practicing beyond talking just to yourself. Because as Doc said, it's you might be doing the video kind of journaling for months and be like, oh, I'm awesome at this. That is a different feeling than being live, and it's a different feeling than being on stage. So at some point you have to put yourself into the position that you actually are trying to be in. So do that, but bring a friend or two, bring a bunch of friends. We have the whole group of friends. The Flow Riders are here leaving us all kinds of nice comments, and it makes a big difference.
And here's the thing, it kind of goes together with the first one and then this one. I know that you doing your podcast with Nat was a definite pull into the dance floor. Remember, in prom or school, nobody's on the dance floor, and then somehow you pulled Nat or Nat pulled you into the dance floor, and now you guys are so good, and your chemistry is just growing week after week. Your ability to roll with the people in the chat is getting better, and maybe it's only me, but I'm like, oh my God, I just want to give Matt a whole new microphone. Nat a whole new microphone. But I don't even care because the stuff that we're talking about is so good. I had completely forgot about it. And then Karen kind of brought up the difference the other day. And I was like, wow, I'm normally on that, but proof positive. We've been so vibrating on the good movies and the memories or where we were when we saw this movie. I had completely forgot how Nat sounded until Karen brought it back up. And then I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So again, see, it doesn't matter, bro. Just do your thing. And when it's good and you make people feel those emotions or you bring those memories or you make them feel like they're part of it, they don't care about nothing else. Because I had completely forgot about until somebody had to go, why are you bringing up old stuff?
All right. Well, this next one is actually kind of similar to what someone brought up earlier. So interested to hear your perspective on this one. Excuse number 4 is I don't have enough time. I'm kind of merciless about this one as well, because I feel like this is the I don't have the right idea kind of thing, where if you don't have enough time for it, you're not willing to make time for it, maybe this isn't for you. Is my opinion.
Couple things on that. Okay, so my Aubrey's not here today. I wonder where she is. Oh. Aubrey has a really cool podcast called The Morning Minute-ish, and it's really a minute-ish. It's never a minute because, she's like us. She goes a little longer. And then back in the day, my homie Sam used to do a iOS app podcasts, and he kept it to like under 3 minutes at all times. Many of the times it was literally like a TikTok reel. Man, that would have been good. He would be crushing right now.
He'd be crushing on TikTok.
But you know, when apps were first coming out, right? There was, you know, before we had the joke about there's an app for that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you only found about apps through a podcast like that, or somebody would tell you. You know, a lot of people were still on their old, you know, not so smartphones and things like that. So he had built an entire show that was pretty high on the Apple charts, and it was literally just coming in and saying, you know, what this cool app was and what it does and why you should take a look at it if that's you. And he did it for like 5 years. So no one says it has to be an hour. Like no one tells you how long it has to be. It's not one of those situations. Then secondarily, it goes back to you make time for what you love, man. You just do. And I would say the number one thing that most content creators don't do is explain it to the people who are most likely to knock on your door while you're trying to record. So from the time when I first got into YouTube, Emma was really, really small. And I used to sit her in a chair and put on the headphones and, you know, let her slide the buttons on the mixer or whatever. And then she would talk to me and I would not say nothing. And then after she'd come out, then I would talk to her. And then she's like, how come you're ignoring me? I go, no, when somebody has the headphones and they're talking to the microphone, it's not polite to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2009. You know who never bothers me when I'm recording? Emma. Why? Because I trained it into her head. That's please and thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So for those of you guys with small kids, bring them in, put them on the headset, put them on the mic, and explain to them when someone is doing this, the proper etiquette is to be quiet. And it wasn't hard. Like, she never bothered me. And so you also have to get buy-in from your friends. Like, listen, people, I know you guys always got some fire you want me to put out, some tech question or whatever. Don't call me during these times. This is what I'm doing. And you know what? For the most part, they respect that. Every once in a while, somebody will forget, but they normally are like, oh yeah, my bad. I completely forgot. You know, so they just know. So other than my brother June, who you all know, he's the only one that will sneak in the room like a ninja and scare the crap out of me because I'm so busy riled up about something. And I look into my monitor and he's standing back there like the Kang DeLorean. Yeah, like it's just one of those things, fam. Like you can absolutely just involve the people around you and that will help you find the time. So be honest with yourself. And if you love it, you'll make time for it. If you're just doing it because you think you need to do it because everybody else says you should do it, you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah. And I will say, and I agree with all of that. And to add on to it a little bit is that, you know, we've done a lot of episodes. In fact, we started this podcast. It's called The Flow because we really wanted to be able to show everyone and talk through how to create a really effective podcasting workflow that saves you time. So the important thing too to remember is that once you're passionate about it and you've committed to the actual like recording time, all of the other stuff around it, you can find ways to be more efficient. You can find ways to save time. You can decide what you want to add on or remove from your workflow. So again, like maybe you want to do the most. Maybe you want to do something similar to us where it's like, you know, you have like a landing page, you're creating, you know, short little video clips that you're using for promotion. You're doing behind the scenes, you're populating social accounts, you're recording episodes, you're bringing on guests, like you're doing all of these things. Great. You know, figure out a workflow that makes time for that so that you know what the process is every single week. So again, you can block that off in your calendar. You can let everyone know. But you don't have to do all of those things either. Like all you have to do to have a podcast is record and release a podcast. You could live stream it like we do. So just keep that in mind. Like I don't have enough time. Like if you don't have enough time or if you are doing a lot of things, but you really want to be able to fit a podcast into it, then just start with just the record or release. And like Doc said, maybe it's a really short podcast for the first little bit. And as you make more time for it because it's starting to do well or because you just have more time as a result of it, you know, whatever the thing, then you can change it and get, you know, and make it a little bit longer or add extra things in that are going to take up the time. But Yeah, it's important to remember that there's like a lot of different kinds of time when it comes to podcasting, but the most important one is the actual recording of the podcasting. All of the other stuff, time could be tweaked down, or you don't have to do all of those steps if you're short on time.
This is funny. All right, so another reason why you don't have time is just because you haven't, sorry.
Managing your time well.
Oh, hold that.
Hold, please. Hold, let's watch Doc's background dancing lights. The lights are dancing for those listening.
Okay, here we go. You don't need a diploma to start a podcast. I know. The number one reason why you don't have this time yet also is you don't have enough reps in for it to become
good point.
Speed.
Yep.
At speed. Okay. So when you first, here's how can I explain this? When I first came to Amesbury,
yep,
my trip from the airport to the office took roughly an hour, right? And in my head, I'm going, man, Ken lied. Ken said we're about 40-ish minutes away from Boston. I was like, Ken, that took well over an hour. It took well over an hour because I didn't know where the hell I was going. So I'm doing it at a different clip. Now that I've been there like 10 times, it takes me like 40-ish minutes,
yeah.
maybe a little less because, but it's quick.
Yeah.
It's really quick. And I can have the tunes, as they call it in match, the tunes. I can have the tunes on full blast. I can have the window dipped, bobbing my head. I'm doing my thing. I got some actual coffee. Sorry, Dunks. And, I'm just vibing. I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
When we're taking people back and forth to the garrison and to all these places, like I don't even need the Jeeps. I know all 5 ways to get to the office from Clark's Road.
Yeah.
You can go this way. You can go that way. You can go up Macy.
Yeah, you're maximizing your time. Yeah. Your experience helps you to maximize your time, for sure.
Exactly. So yes, please don't get it twisted. It will become faster and easier the more you do it.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Well, this last one I know is one that all of you have asked or thought about or considered at one point or another. And our answer is going to be pretty obvious, but here, let's go through it anyway. Number 5 on our podcast excuse list is, I don't know how to edit audio or video or how to edit at all. I've been talked into doing this podcast, and the editing part absolutely terrifies me. Well, I would say that our number one immediate answer is, you don't have to edit. We do a podcast where we live stream it, and because we are not overly picky about it being absolutely perfect, because we don't believe in perfection here. We believe in real people, real ideas helping each other. We don't have to edit this. It is not something that you have to do. And if you have to do it for whatever reason, that you want to do it or it's part of your thing, there's so many different ways that you can approach it, right, Doc? There's like a plethora of different ways to think through and approach editing.
I think you're 100% correct. I think, number one, you definitely do not have to edit. The thing of talking and having ability to say what you want to say all the time, that just goes away. Like, I am really stuck if I have to or I'm trying to repull something from memory recall, and as you become vintage, memory gets slower. When I'm generally talking, I don't too much because I learned to eat the ums from experience. Mm-hmm. So we don't have to edit because I don't do as many ums as you would think. And the more you do it, the faster those go away. If you're still doing them as a crutch, it's just something that will go away with time, the more comfortable you become with the subject. A lot of times we're telling you, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to start a rocket science podcast. In the beginning of starting a rocket science podcast, not being a rocket scientist, you will a lot. Once you become Bill Nye the Science Guy, you won't at all. So a large portion of that is your comfort with the topic. And it's okay. Like, nobody cares. Everybody who you think is going to be embarrassed or you're embarrassed of them hearing you guess what they do? They all of us do it, right? In every language, there's a I got to tell you, I don't know if Eden's still around, but the funniest thing to me is when I was in China and I found out how Chinese people say
Ooh, how do they say it?
Yo, I'll tell you after. But let's just say it's very funny. And well, it's funny to me. And when you hear it, you're going to be like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Eden knows. Eden knows. As an American in China, hearing everybody stop and keep hitting it, and they hit it long. It's a long singing version. And it's like, anyway, it sounds like a racial slur, okay, but it's not. It's really, really funny. So the point being, you will get better the more you do it.
Yep.
So like really don't trip out over that. Just do it. It will come to you. You'll be fine. And my voice is cracking.
And to fill in while Doc takes a sip of water is like practice and planning, right? The two P's. So again, with software like Ecamm or anything else, if you're crazy, you can lay it all out and plan out everything in advance so that even someone that has next to no experience with video can record a pretty great program. And if at the end, for whatever reason, you think, shoot, I said this one thing at the beginning or at the end or even in the middle that I didn't love, even a software like QuickTime that's on your computer could help you trim out something like that. And that's still better. You've still created the content versus sitting there saying, I can't do this right now. I don't know how to get into editing, or I'll start my podcast once I figure out, whether or not I can hire an editor or whether or not I can learn how to edit. There are tools out there, both free and fairly reasonably priced, that do make it a lot easier for you if things do go wrong and you need the picture quality goes or someone's audio gets a little bit wonky or something happens, like a tech challenge happens. There are tools out there to solve that. But yeah, I would challenge you to say that do you really need to edit, or can you just be a little bit better at the planning and practice phases so that you can just record and release, or stream and release as we do in this particular show.
Right. And so also it literally has to do with just understanding you will get good at it the more you do it. You can always get somebody else to do it for you, and you don't have to go that crazy. These tools that are out here now are incredible, and nobody really cares if you edit it or not. They just don't. If the content is good, the content is good. You guys don't do too much editing with VHS at all, right?
I do none. I literally drag and drop the file.
Perfect.
And there are moments where, like, I have done every conceivable weird thing under the book. Like I've forgotten to roll like our rap scene, so we have no like final music. I've like had weird things happen in the middle of the show, and I've thought to myself, I could go back in there and fix it. And then I'm like, I don't know. Our show is really
that's funny.
Meant to be fun and silly. And I think about even shows that I listen to on a regular basis, and I always laugh to myself when you're listening to the show. So it's released and out there, and they say something like, I can't believe I just said that. You're going to cut that in editing, right? And the other person's like, yeah, sure.
And they never do.
And then it's like, obviously not cut in editing, right? Because we're listening to it. So the person feels like even just saying that, like, is kind of funny because the audience feels like they're in on something. They feel like they're part of the show. They're part of the experience, which is why I love doing it. I love recording live and being able to do it here, where I feel like we can take immediate feedback from the audience. The recording process feels less daunting. I have to say, for me, the most stressed I get these days is when I am a podcast guest on a show where they record it, not live, we're just recording, and they say something to me like this: hey, Katie, if you say anything that like you don't like or you want to correct or change, just let us know, and then we'll record it again. Like you can stop and you can say it again in the way that you want to say it. And I'm like, oh no, that's intensely stressful for me. That means like the entire time my brain is going like, did that sound okay? Is this the point where I really want to re-record it? Should I like stop the podcast and tell them that I want to re-record this? Like, how would I say it differently? Like my mind just takes over, versus when I'm in this environment, maybe I say something I don't want to say, or maybe even in this episode, I'm thinking like, I'm talking too much. I should let Doc talk more. Whatever is in my mind, it's too late. I can't correct it. So
you can't.
So we're
fix it.
we're just gonna move along, right? And I'm gonna try to get a little bit better next time, or think about how I want to approach it next time. So I don't know. I feel like it's changed my perspective on it, that now recording stuff feels trickier because there is an expectation of it being better produced and more perfect than when I don't have the opportunity to correct what I'm saying. You don't on a stage, by the way. Like when you're on stage,
never.
You say what you say, and the audience is there watching, and you move along. I don't know. I don't know if a podcast needs to be heavily edited. I guess unless you're like interviewing a really famous person or a big name person who, there's something that they accidentally trick them into saying.
They know more than anybody what it's like to be live. They've done live television before, or live radio or whatever. Man, the Woolpatch put in something in the comments, which I absolutely love hearing from someone else. Since I moved from edited vlogs to live vlogs on my channel, I've saved so much time from editing. Plus, my audience love it when I go wrong or press the wrong Stream Deck button. Connectivity with my audience has gone way up. And yes, I did say connectivity. I forgot there was a funny conversation with us on Twit one day about when is it connectivity versus connectivity? And we were like, oh, when the device costs more than $1,000. Kind of like a vase and a vase. The vase and a vase.
The vase and the vase. Yeah, a vase is much more expensive.
I absolutely love to hear that, because for the most part, what we're doing, whenever we're making a podcast or a live video or a recorded video or a vlog, is we're trying to just share something with somebody else to give them the inspiration to feel better that day.
Yeah.
And having the courage to do that live is so much more beneficial because you get that comment. So even the Woolpatch making a comment while we're doing the show, talking about editing and feeling good with not editing, is proof positive that doing it live is the move.
Yeah.
Right? And whether we edited the show or not is really not relevant. It's just a matter of make an executive decision and pick one. So if you don't like editing, don't. And if you feel like you have to, then you have no choice but to do this. It's really me. Like, I know how to cook broccoli. I just won't eat it. I can't stand to eat it, but I know how to cook it. It's not that hard. Sometimes you got to do the thing that you don't like in order to do the mission that you want to do. If I could get to my purpose by laying in bed all day and watching Manchester United games on full repeat, I would do that. Turns out that's not a thing. So I have to do all the other things so that when I do take time to stop and watch a game for 90 minutes tomorrow, cool, I got it. I did all the other stuff so that I can do that.
Yeah. Well, those are the 5 excuses that we found. There's a million others. We could probably do an episode every single week on all these excuses. But the important thing to remember is that there's actually not even one right answer to counter each of these excuses. So the entire podcasting experience is so personal. So there is not you are not wrong with your process. You are not wrong with your gear. You are not wrong at how you speak or the way that you create your content or how often you're doing it or how long your podcast episode. None of that is wrong. Those are all choices that you make, and then you evaluate as to whether or not they are working towards your goals that you make. And then you make tweaks and edits and changes to make improvements, again, to benefit you and your audience and the goals that you have that you made. So all of these excuses are just you trying to convince yourself that you can't do it because you're scared, which we get. But at some point you have to push past that, because there's no reason why, and it's so much fun and so rewarding on the other side. So if it is something that you want to do, talk your way through it. Marcus called it. The short answer is, if you really want it, you'll just do it. You'll just do it. So
yes. Listen, I like to put this into the context of one of my favorite people in the world. And it really saddens me that we didn't get to have him longer. But I talk to my people about this all the time. I think the proper answer when it comes to this is what Bruce Lee said, and that's be water, my friends. And if you haven't heard this speech before, I would shorten it. But Bruce basically says if you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. If you put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. If you put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can flow or it can crash, right? So be water, my friends. In other words, have the flexibility to do all of that. And we know water is both life nourishing and giving, and it can do so many things for you. But trust me, I live on an island. I know what an 80-foot wave looks like. I have seen people get demolished because they disrespect it or they don't understand it or they treat it, not like it should be, right? Or tsunamis. So if you're water, you have the power to be nourishing and everything else, but you also have the power to destroy. So with great power comes great responsibility. Whole different person, Uncle Ben. But yeah, the idea of being water, that fluency, that's really funny to say it that way, but that fluidity, that fluency, and I like to say now this is liquid. Podcasting is liquid. It can be whatever you want it to be. So it can be a struggle or it can be a breeze. Yeah, that's a little woo-woo, but trust me, like it's a good way to think of it because it really can be whatever. So you're either, having this tsunami, some people see all the buttons and stuff as a tsunami. I see all the buttons and stuff as cups of water I can use to feed all the people that are going to listen.
Absolutely. Oh, on that note, let's roll our end.
It's funny. The show is called The Flow.
The show is called The Flow, and we are all water. Love it.
I forgot about that.
I love it. You have to be able to go with the flow.
Oh my God, Paul. Okay, so if you want to flow, you can check us out on flow.ecamm.com. Oh my God, I'm still cracking up right now. And this is what gets you to wherever your podcast getting is got. It could be RSS feed, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, and my new favorite podcast app called Snipped. Hit me up. I'll explain it to you. And then also Captivate in order to host this bad boy. So big ups to Captivate for sponsoring the show. They are our hosts. If you're looking for a host, they're one of the best, one of the easiest. We absolutely love them. And all of your tech support comes with a British accent. I'm just saying. So Captivate is absolutely the move. If you want to jump on and you haven't started yet, you're looking for a place to host your site, check out Captivate at captivate.fm. And then last but not least, we want to give a little love to the Descript family. Listen, we talk about this ad nauseum. We use Descript to do this show. And recently they've added so many cool things. That's like a whole episode. So just go over there and check it out. And you don't have to know everything. You just got to start somewhere. So Descript is a good place to start. You can check them out at descript.com. Yay!
It's so true. Awesome. You don't have to know everything with software like this. I love that. That's great.
I know that most people drive their car right now and they know very little. Do you know how to change the transmission oil inside your Mazda?
No, heck no. I got married.
But does it get your kids right? Does it get your kids back and forth to school?
Yeah.
Right? And to horsing or soccering or cross countrying or whatever the 90 things that they do.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So you don't have to know, right? All you need to know is I back this sucker up and I throw my Costco in it and I get back home. See? So, yeah, you don't have to know everything. Most people don't know how their heart works, but they use it every day. Anyway, love you guys. Thank you. And
thanks so much for hanging out.
Hopefully, Aiden is awake this week for it. But here we go. Flow Riders out!